Welcome to Standard Deck Building Tutorial. This is Shaheen Sarani. I have a dedicated website to building control decks from Standard, Modern, Legacy, and we're actually going to go through a lot of other different archetypes and tournament prep. But today we're just working on Standard. So I'm going to go through an 8 to 9 step process on how to build a control deck, what to look for, how to decipher the metagame, etc. And at the end of this tutorial, hopefully no matter what the format is, no matter what set comes out, you'll be able to look at it, figure out the cards that are going to go in your control deck, and just crush. The big thing about these tutorials is it's control oriented because that's where my expertise is. But this could be used for other types, especially mid range. I don't really dabble in the aggro too much, but I'm going to get you guys, you mid range plus players, and get you ready for control standard tournament play. All right, so the first thing is you got to decipher the metagame. Every format is different. Every format is ever changing, especially now a new set just came out. When the new set comes out, you got to look at the cards in the set. You got to figure out what decks are going to be played. You got to figure out what the metagame is going to say or what different decks are going to be in the metagame. Right now we have Eldrazi, which is kind of like the big menace of the metagame. You have Jeskai Black. You have all these new Oath of Gatewatch, colorless spells using waste mana. So you really have to look at the new cards in the set, regardless if it's Oath of Gatewatch or going back to Zendikar or anything else, and then figure out what decks are going to improve and what decks are going to be popular. You can do that in a few different ways. One, you have MTGO. The metagame on MTGO is very, very diverse. It's pretty much what people have online, and if online tends to bleed into normal play as well. So if it's popular online, you can better believe it's going to be popular in real life as well. Of course, aggro is a little more popular due to time constraints and the cheapness of it, but you can still see what decks are out there. The Open Series. Open Series is great to find out what's going to be big, what's going to be hot, what's going to be the new deck. The top 8 is not what you look at. You look at top 32 standard opens. You have Grand Prix results. You have Pro Tour results. So your big number one step is deciphering the metagame. Look at the opens. Look at the Grand Prix. Look at the MTGO lists. And then last but not least, look at the articles. Read what the pros have to say. Read Patrick Chapin's new article. Read Sam Black's article. Read Brian Kibler. Read myself. Anyone who kind of has a good idea, well-rounded idea on what standard looks like and what decks should be popular. Okay, so once you do that, you create a list, and you're like, my list to beat now is deck A, B, C, D, and E, and you need to be sure that you have the proper tools and ammunition to defeat these decks. You can't play a deck that loses to 3 out of the 5 big decks. You can't play a deck that is weak to these. So deciphering the metagame is the biggest part, and people always brand me as the Esper guy, but I've played Esper, I've played Sultai, I've played Blue-Black, I'll play Blue-White, I'll play any control combination that is very, very good against whatever the metagame happens to be. All right, so the control course of action. Number 1, decipher the metagame. Number 2, figure out what control deck beats the metagame. You have, in today's era, you have Planeswalkers and you have Dragons. Those are the 2 big ones. But this is not just for this own metagame. This goes through all the metagames. Dragons and Planeswalkers pretty much boils down to proactive and reactive strategies. Sometimes when the tournaments are filled with aggro decks and you have like mono red and you have Abzan aggro and all this, you have to be proactive. You have to tap out, kill all their creatures. Tap out, kill all their creatures. Tap out, play a dragon. So right now, the creatures are too good. They're too powerful, so you're going to want to be on a proactive strategy. So proactive is definitely more effective these days. So when you're building a proactive deck, you're not afraid to tap out. Sorceries are fine. Removal spells that cost a hefty price are fine. Win conditions that make you tap out are fine. We're not going to be able to cast Sphinx's Revelation every format and then play an Aetherling with 6 mana open and just wait. We're not going to be able to Nephalia Drown Yard our opponents every time. Now is the time of Planeswalkers, Dragons, a little bit of both, tapping out and winning. And that's no problem because control can win tapping out or it can win in the reactive format. That's step 2. Figuring out which direction you're going to go in. So right now, we have a proactive world. We're going to play a proactive deck. Removal Suite's the third thing. What removal spells are you going to play? We were forced to play Silk Rat for the longest time. Before that, the removal was so bad on the 2 slot that a lot of us just played our 4 Heroes Downfall and just, hoped it would get there. We have Bile Blight was actually another card that we used before that was a little tough on the mana, wasn't very popular in the control decks. So you have to figure out what spells you're going to use, if they kill creature A, B, and C, or just 2 of the 3, or just 1 of the 3. Right now we have a removal spell, Grasp of Darkness, that's -4/-4 for black, which kills Anafenza at the 3 mana spot. kills Butcher the Horde at the 4-mana spot. It kills Dragonlord Ojutai at the 5-mana spot. Kills 2-drops and 1-drops. So we need this in our deck. So step 3, when we're looking at the removal in the format, go back to step 1. It answers every deck's creatures. It kills Mantis Rider. So when you're building a control deck, you really want to look at the removal spells that are around, build the best possible deck around those removal spells, and then the rest will fill in later. Okay? So you have Grasp of Darkness, we have Languish, we have Crux of Fate, and we have such a big pile of great removal spells, but it kind of puts us in the color of black. So that's kind of a given. Okay? Number 4, mana curve. You want to make sure you curve out. I have a rule of 8 to 10. That's my big rule. 8 to 10 is where you want 1-drops and 2-drops. You want between 8, 9, or 10. And the reason being is because today creatures are too powerful. Warden of the First Tree is great. You have Fleecemane Line before that. You have tons of these diverse threats. Even Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, you have to answer. So you want to have 8 to 10 reactive spells or proactive spells in the 1-mana slot or 2-mana slot, because you don't have time these days just to play tap land, temple, scry, tap land, temple, scry, and then start. You have to get going right off the bat. So I play Duresses, I play Silumgar's Scorn, you count Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, you count Grasp of Darkness, all these count in that 1 and 2 slot. So get 8 to 10 or so, and then once you have that many, you can move on after that. You want to be able to interact with them. That's super important in a control deck. You have to be able to interact in the early turns. You'll see a lot of Esper Dragon lists today or control lists in the past that ignore the 8 to 10 rule, that play very, very few early interactive spells. And those decks are just not successful. They make 32nd place or 43rd place at an open. The decks that really, truly perform well are the ones that can survive to the end game. So just to kind of give a recap. Step 1, decipher the metagame. Then figure out to be proactive or reactive. Then look at the removal spells. You want the best possible ones that kill the most possible creatures. You want one spell that can kill 80% of the creatures. Silk Wrap, fantastic card. Sorcery Speed, didn't kill Shambling Vents. I don't know if you watched any of my matches as of recent, but against Jeff Hoogland, he was attacking me with many Shambling Vents, and holding Silk Wrap's not the great place to be. Grasp of Darkness, fantastic. So now we're going to build a deck around it. Step 5. You have card advantage. You need to determine what blue spells, black spells, white spells produce card advantage. This could be 2-for-1s, and this involves sweepers. You always have to have a few sweepers in your deck in order to deal with a cluttered board and to get card advantage so you don't fall too far behind. You have Painful Truce now. You have Dig Through Time. So you pretty much write down all the possibilities, look at your mana curve, and then place them appropriately to ensure that you have a smooth running. You got your early interaction, removing the last threat on board, drawing a bunch of cards, and then stabilizing. So you want multi-use cards, you want low-costed card advantage. I mean, you have Dragonlord's Prerogative now, you have Treasure Cruise. Problem is, you can't play a ton of these 7, 8, 6-mana card advantage spells. So you want to be able to pack your deck full of ones that fit the mana curve. All the steps in building a control deck work together, so make sure you're following that mantra there. The 6th step out of 8, you have win conditions. You want to play the least amount of win conditions possible. And that's why I played Planeswalker for so long, is because you don't have to dedicate a whole lot to them. You don't have to play 6 dragons in your deck. You can play 2 Gideon, which are win conditions, but they also block and fill the board up. You have Ob Nixilis, you get to kill things. So you really have to weigh that in. You want to play the minimum amount of win conditions because you will win eventually. It's about 8 to 10 spells, turns 1 and 2, stabilizing 3, 4, and 5, card advantage, and then finally playing things to win the game. So the best win condition now are the dragons. So we were forced to play 6. And that's another reason why I'm not going to play Monastery Mentor on the board, is because you want the minimum amount, and you don't want to have 10, 13, 14 creatures after board. It's just too many. 7th one, most important thing about deck building is matchup analysis. You got to go through the matchups, you got to look at what decks are out there, and then build a sideboard. I am taught a class, and I'm going to get back to teaching a class. You'll see more information on the website coming up soon. And in those classes, I show you an Excel spreadsheet with all the matchups in one column. Then you have how many cards you're going to board in, how many cards you're going to board out, and then you have disparity. So let's say I want to bring 4 cards in against Jeskai Black, but I have to take out 6 cards. I have a -2. And then at the end of the day, you look at that Excel spreadsheet, And then when you're looking at that Excel spreadsheet, you're like, oh, I need to alter this amount, I need to alter this amount, and you try to get rid of those disparities. Because you want to have an even 4-for-4 boarding out. You want to have an even 5-for-5 boarding out. And so when you're building your deck, put cards in there like Infinite Obliteration. Deals with Eldrazi, deals with Nantuko Husk, deals with Dragonlord Oathshine in the Mirror. So that is a 3-prong attack where one card can deal with 3 different matchups. Last, play testing. You want to play test. You can't perform well in a tournament without it. It comes with playing a lot against all the matchups in the format. You want to build a gauntlet with your friends. Proxy decks up, play with your friends. If you're more of an MTGO player, play MTGO. If you don't have a lot of time, play some FNM. Whatever it takes, the more you play with your control deck, the better you perform. I have told so many players that have read my material and read my works and said, I'm not having the success that, you guarantee with this stuff. And I told them, control is hard. It's the hardest archetype to play. So when you're playing a control deck, you have to get games under your belt if you want to perform well. And the more you play the deck over and over and over, the less mistakes you'll make, the more rewards you'll yield from this, and the better you'll do overall. So this is how to build a standard control deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. There'll be much more to come. You'll see videos from me with Modern, Legacy, and definitely tournament play. Just look forward to those on the website. Follow the links, and have a great day.